Hi there, and welcome to the Celeb Tea, the rise and fall of Katy Perry, a pop icon in transition. There was a time when Katy Perry ruled the pop universe. Every single one of her songs was a guaranteed chart topper, blasting from car radios, dance floors, and festival speakers across the globe. From Firework to Roar, she wasn't just another pop star, she was pop music. Her presence defined an era. Each new single felt like an event, every chorus an anthem that millions sang word for word. But somewhere along the way, things began to shift. The hits stopped coming. Her music videos no longer dominated YouTube, and her latest releases barely made a dent in the charts. Even her much-hyped comeback album failed to reignite the spark. The once unstoppable pop powerhouse suddenly seemed to struggle for relevance. So what exactly happened? How did one of the brightest stars in modern pop, an artist once synonymous with perfection, slip from the top? This is the story of how Katy Perry, the woman who once defined a generation's sound, found herself fighting to stay in the conversation. For nearly 10 years, Katy Perry was untouchable. Her name alone guaranteed airplay, streaming spikes, and social media buzz. She was the kind of artist who could release a single on a Tuesday and have it ruling the Billboard Hot 100 by Friday. But by the time the 2020s rolled around, the magic was fading. When Perry announced her 2024 album, 143, both fans and critics hoped it would mark her glorious return, a reawakening of the teenage dream era that once ruled global pop. But things didn't unfold that way. In the US, 143 debuted at number 6, a decent start on paper, yet it disappeared from the Billboard 200 in just 2 weeks, her shortest chart run ever. Critics called it forgettable and uninspired, accusing it of recycling old formulas. Fans echoed the sentiment, calling the album out of touch and disconnected from the current pop landscape. Part of the problem was timing. Pop music had changed drastically. The glossy, high-energy sound Perry mastered in the 2010s had given way to stripped-down, emotionally raw music powered by TikTok trends. The days of neon-colored anthems were gone, replaced by bedroom pop, melancholic lyrics, and viral hooks. What once felt fresh and empowering now seemed outdated. Her lead single, Woman's World, peaked at just number 63 on the Billboard Hot 100. The video was visually stunning, lavish sets, bold costumes, but it failed to spark conversation. Online comments were brutally honest. She's trying too hard. It's giving 2013. There wasn't hatred, there was silence. And in the pop world, silence is the worst sound of all. It meant people had already moved on. The numbers told the rest of the story. 143 sold just 48,000 album equivalent units in its first week, a huge drop from her teenage dream days, which opened with nearly 200,000. On streaming platforms, her songs struggled to gain traction, earning only around 13 million plays in the first week. Radio, once her kingdom, barely featured her anymore. California Girls, Firework, and Dark Horse had once been radio staples. Now, even her collaborations faded before making a real impact. YouTube, another of her old strongholds, told the same story. Her classic videos, Firework, Roar, and Dark Horse, still rack up billions of views, cementing her status as a cultural icon of the 2010s. But her new videos barely reached 20 million views. The algorithm, driven by younger audiences, simply didn't push her content anymore. Katy Perry had reached a strange crossroads, caught between relevance and legacy. Her old hits continued to stream in the billions, but her new material couldn't compete, even with her own past work. She had become what the industry calls a legacy artist, a respected veteran, admired for her contributions, but no longer shaping the future of pop. But this wasn't just about her. The entire music world had changed. The sound of the 2020s belonged to artists like Billie Eilish, Olivia Rodrigo, Doja Cat, and Dua Lipa. Their songs were darker, softer, and emotionally nuanced. The world wanted authenticity over spectacle. In an age obsessed with vulnerability, Perry's glossy, hyper-polished style suddenly felt too perfect. TikTok only widened the gap. The platform had become the birthplace of hits, rewarding songs that could go viral in 15 seconds. Younger artists had adapted seamlessly, but Perry's fan base was built before the TikTok era, and her music didn't naturally fit that format. Her songs weren't memeable, shareable, or short-form friendly. And then came another unspoken reality: age. Pop is a young person's game. As Perry entered her late 30s, the media's tone changed. When she wore bright, playful outfits, she was accused of trying too hard to stay young. When she acted more mature, critics called her boring. It's a balancing act female artists face far more harshly than their male counterparts. Instead of her music, the headlines shifted toward her personal life, her motherhood, her brand partnerships, and her time as a judge on American Idol. Even when she made appearances tied to major projects, like a 2025 Blue Origin promotional event, the internet turned it into a joke instead of a career milestone. Slowly, her artistry began to fade into the background. She was still visible, just not for the reasons that had once made her famous. Reinvention, resistance, and the legacy that endures. When 143 arrived, it was meant to be Katy Perry's grand return, a reminder that she could still command the pop landscape she once ruled. She described it as her most personal album, even naming it after the old pager code for "I love you." It was supposed to show a more vulnerable, reflective side of her artistry, but when it finally dropped, the emotional connection she hoped to reignite never materialized. Fans felt the songs were safe, as if she were caught between two worlds, one nostalgic for her past and another unsure how to evolve. Even her most loyal supporters admitted the album sounded like a mix of witness and smile leftovers. The marketing didn't help either. The rollout felt dated. Traditional magazine covers, talk show appearances, and Instagram countdowns, while her peers were turning releases into cinematic cultural moments. Beyoncé's Cowboy Carter became a visual statement. Taylor Swift's The Tortured Poets Department unfolded like an interactive storytelling universe. Perry's album, by comparison, simply appeared. No mystery, no viral spark, just another pop record in a saturated market. The reviews reflected that disappointment. The Guardian called it a comeback that fails to hit. Billboard noted that Perry seemed trapped between chasing trends and reviving her old sound, producing songs that didn't stand out in either direction. Online discussions echoed the same sadness rather than anger. "We love her," one fan wrote, "but she's lost her spark." Others blamed her label, Capitol Records, for clinging to outdated strategies, traditional radio singles, and glossy promo cycles that no longer worked in 2025. The fatigue wasn't just external, it was personal. Years of nonstop touring, reinvention, and public scrutiny take their toll. Perry herself has spoken about feeling creatively boxed in, condemned whether she changed her style or stayed consistent. Reinvention was expected, but authenticity was demanded. In the world of pop, it's a trap few survive gracefully. Over time, fans naturally shifted their attention elsewhere. Pop audiences are restless, always searching for the next big thing. What happened to Perry had happened before, to Britney Spears, Lady Gaga, and even Rihanna. After years of dominating the charts, the public eventually wants a new face. The candy-colored aesthetic that once felt empowering began to look overused, even juvenile. And while Perry matured into motherhood, her priorities changed. She spoke openly about wanting balance and peace, focusing on her daughter Daisy and her family life. Admirable as that is, in a culture addicted to constant output, taking a step back often looks like disappearing. Still, Perry's story isn't a tragedy. It's an evolution, one that exposes how the industry treats its stars, especially women. Male artists in their 30s and 40s are praised for depth and maturity. Female artists are accused of trying too hard to stay relevant. Perry found herself under a microscope where every outfit, every lyric, and every career decision was dissected. Reinvention, something Madonna and Lady Gaga turned into art, became a no-win situation for her. When she aimed for seriousness with witness and smile, critics called her dull. When she tried to reclaim her playful side with 143, she was labeled outdated. Behind it all sat the same corporate machinery. Major record labels, still clinging to old formulas, dictated release dates, radio pushes, and media appearances. They promoted Perry's comeback as if it were 2013 again, ignoring that today's hits are born on TikTok and built by fans, not marketers. By the time her team realized that, the conversation had already moved on. Yet, despite the commercial setbacks, Katy Perry's influence remains undeniable. Few artists have defined a decade as completely as she did. Firework, Roar, Teenage Dream, and Dark Horse aren't just songs, they're cultural touchstones. They soundtracked millions of memories and inspired countless artists who followed her lead. Dua Lipa, Ava Max, and Olivia Rodrigo have all credited Perry's confidence and color-driven style as a blueprint for their own careers. Her statistics alone prove her staying power, more than 20 billion total Spotify streams, with Roar and Dark Horse each surpassing 1 billion plays. Her Las Vegas residency sold out night after night. Audiences still sing every lyric to Last Friday Night and E.T. Word for word. The energy, the voice, and the charisma that built her career remain intact. What changed wasn't her talent, it was the world around her. Pop music now moves at lightning speed, shaped by algorithms and fleeting trends. But legacy lasts longer than virality. Perry may no longer dominate the charts, yet her imprint on pop culture is permanent. The truth is, Katy Perry's journey mirrors that of many great artists before her, an evolution from chart topper to cultural icon. The world grew louder, faster, and more fragmented, but her songs still echo in the background of everyday life. For millions, she will always represent an era of joy, color, and fearless self-expression. In today's fame-obsessed, short attention span culture, true icons aren't measured by current hits, they're measured by what they leave behind. And Katy Perry's light, even if it shines differently now, hasn't gone out. It's simply found a new way to glow.